Hi everyone, this is James Tobias, Senior Product Manager at Mapware, and today I'm going to walk you through Mapware Fly, an Android application for flight planning and drone control on the Google Play Store, available right now for any Android tablet, the Mavic 2 Pro, the Mavic 4, or the Phantom 4 Pro 2, as well as the Mini 2 and the Air 2. Whew, that's a mouthful. Alrighty, let's get started here. This is the page you're first going to log into when you open up the Mapware Fly application. If you have a Mapware account for the existing Mapware SaaS application, you are able to use those same credentials, and once you create an account on Mapware Fly, you're able to use it on our SaaS application as well, and vice versa. If you've not created an account, go ahead and click New to Mapware, create an account, and fill out all the information required. I'm going to go ahead and go back here to the sign-in page and sign in with my Google account, since I already have an account with my personal account. And that's going to drop me in here to the projects page. These projects are going to be any projects that you've created in Mapware Fly or Mapware SaaS. You're going to hear me say this a lot, but everything that we're doing here is equivalent on both sides, or both of our applications. Everything communicates and talks through the Mapware cloud. So we'll give this a second to load here as it's pulling in all my projects. Okay, and here we see everything. So you'll see over on the left-hand side of each one of these project lines, we have a thumbnail image. If we've run a 3D model, it's going to show that preview in the thumbnail. If you have not, it's just going to show you a quick snapshot of the area of interest from Mapware Fly. So you'll see this demo July project has not been run on a model yet, so that's why it has this snapshot versus the corridor mission below, which does have a 3D model run on the canal. Okay, so the first thing you're going to do to get started is create a new project, if you do not already have a project you want to go into. So you're going to do that by clicking or tapping the blue icon on the left-hand corner, and then giving your project a name. So I'm going to name this Demo August, even though it's not quite August yet, but it's close enough for me. You also have an option here to select between different teams. When you create a new account, you are created a team with your name, so it'd be just called James Tobias's team. If you then are shared other teams, or you create another organization team and add members to that, you could select those here. But that's only a function really on Mapware SaaS if you're familiar with it. So you might not have an option for any other teams, and that's totally okay. Go ahead and click Create Project, and then what we have here is a hierarchy of data. So you have the project creation, and underneath projects you have missions, and inside of each mission you're going to have your flights. So go ahead and give your mission a name in order to get started. So I'm going to go ahead and call this Demo August Mission, and tap Create Mission. Alright, and the first thing you see here is a Mapware tip. We have these throughout the application to try to familiarize yourself with the application so you know how to use the application as best as possible. What this is saying is basically, if you want to go ahead and get started, just click the Plan Mission here whenever you're at the area of interest that you would like to start planning a mission. So you'll see it's dropped me into the map here in my neighborhood. You'll see a little blue icon for where my tablet is currently located, as well as the direction it's facing. And once I'm ready to get started, I can go ahead and click on the plan mission here. Another tip comes up, and it tells you how to interact with the area of interest in order to go ahead and create your flight path. So I'll go ahead and walk into that a little bit further in detail. We'll ignore that tip for now. Okay, so now we see our map with an area of interest and a flight path inside of it. Before I dig into that, go ahead and look on the left-hand side, and you'll see a few different icons that represent different features in the map. So the first one is search by location. Here you can search by POI, by address, by zip code, anything along those lines, in order to zoom to a location that you might need to start a mission in. So for example, myself, I'm going to go ahead and use 2560 Scottsdale, Arizona, and you'll see that it zooms over to a nearby zip code to myself. And of course, if I want to zoom back to myself at any point, that's how you're going to use that second icon. So if I tap on that, it automatically zooms me right back to my own location of where I am now. Get rid of that search by location box. The third option here is map layers. So by default, we have 3 different layers available to you. We start you out on the street map. If you tap on the terrain, you'll see it looks almost exactly the same, but if I zoom out, let's say, and go over, I know there's a little mountain over here, you'll see we have topographic lines with that terrain background imagery. So I really prefer this one because it's easy to see my flight path. However, I also have those topographic lines so that I know for my drone if I need to turn on terrain following or modify any of my altitude settings for that different altitude or the different terrain in my area. If I tap on the layers again, we do have the third option of satellite imagery as well. So if you want to see a more lifelike idea of where you're going to be flying, then that's how you do so. I'm going to go ahead and tap back to go to the terrain since that's my favorite, and then select the last option here for our settings. The first setting is your units of measure. So if you're familiar with imperial metrics measurements like myself, I'm going to keep it on here for feet and miles per hour. However, you can also click on metric in order to go to meters, meters per second, kilometers, kilometers per hour, if you're more familiar with the metric system. These are global settings, so once you set them once, they will maintain through the entire application, and then if you return to the application as well. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it back to imperial since that's what I'm most familiar with. The last option here is for image locations. So you'll see on my flight path in my area of interest, I have these white little circles. They represent the image locations where the drone is going to capture images on the flight path. So if I turn that off, then you'll see those image locations go away. The reason we give that option to you is because sometimes, depending on how much overlap you have in the settings and your parameters, especially with double grid missions, it can be very overwhelming seeing all the number of images that are going to be taken, and you can't even see the flight path. So we give you the option to remove those image locations if it becomes a bit much. The last option down at the very bottom left-hand corner is going to be your trash icon. That's how you delete your area of interest. So let's just say you went whack with your polygon and started dragging vertices everywhere. Just go ahead and delete that if you want to start from scratch, and it'll give you a nice little square again to start from. Okay, over on the right hand side you'll see a flight parameters menu. Here you have a few different options. The very first one is going to be your mission types. So you'll see the first one is grid mission. This is going to be best for efficiency as well as still being able to create ortho photos and pretty nice quality 3D models. However, if you want enhanced 3D models, go ahead and click on that double grid for the crosshatch pattern. That'll really help get the different angles and the different images needed in order to enhance your 3D models. The third option here are corridor missions. So if you have a linear feature such as utilities or a canal like I flew myself, or some roads perhaps, then you can use corridor missions, and they're going to be a simple out and back depending on the corridor width. You'll see in the parameters we have that first little option here is corridor width. If I increase that, you'll see that it starts having some out and backs inside of my corridor. But how it differs from a normal grid pattern is if I drag out my vertice here, and I will go into how you interact with this area of interest here in a minute, but you'll see that it's a little bit more complex than just a polygon where it's trying to make the most efficient flight path for that polygon. This is purely for linear features and trying to map and model those features. Okay, and the last option is free flight mode. So if you click on that, then you're able to manually fly the drone. You are responsible, this is what this message is telling you, but you're responsible for flying the drone yourself with the controller, as well as capturing the images with the controller yourself. So you'll see there are no parameters currently for this mode, and there is no area of interest because you're pretty much doing everything yourself. Okay, so I'm just going to go back to grid mission in order to do that. And I'm going to click on plan mission here. And again, these tips are coming up because I didn't click don't show again, but if they get overwhelming, just go ahead and click that box so you don't have to worry about it. Okay, let's go over the parameters. So the first one is terrain following. If you toggle that on, what it's going to do is maintain an above ground level altitude for your drone above the terrain. let's say the top of my neighborhood is at 500 feet and the bottom of my neighborhood is at 250 feet. It's going to maintain whatever above ground altitude I set, so let's say 300 feet, between those two levels. So the mean sea level altitude for the drone may vary throughout the flight. However, the above ground level altitude will maintain the same. This is important when you're trying to maintain that 400-foot above ground level altitude cap for drones, especially if you live in hilly terrain. The bottom option right below terrain following says save terrain data to device. So what this is for is if you have no connection in the field and you want to use terrain data, what you would do is when you have an internet connection, go ahead and tap that in order to download the terrain data. And once that is saved, you could go out into the field without a connection and fly to still get that terrain data. However, if you just toggle on the terrain following and you're expecting to have Wi-Fi during your flight, then you do not have to worry about saving the terrain data to your device. It'll automatically pull that in during the flight for you. So we're going to go ahead and leave that option on. The next option is the altitude. So I'll go ahead and adjust the altitude up and you'll see that it's modifying my flight path for me. So when you're adjusting your altitude up, obviously the images are larger, they're capturing more of the ground. So maintaining that overlap level is able to minimize the amount of work or the amount of overlaps, the amount of passes back and forth that the drone is going to have to take. So if I lower the altitude, you'll see that I have more flight paths that are necessary in order to maintain the image data that's needed with the overlap settings. Okay, so I'm going to turn that up a little bit so that it's a quicker flight during the demonstration. The next option is the drone speed. So you'll see you can set any drone speed you like. For smaller drones such as the Mini 2 and the Air 2, we recommend maybe 4 or 5 miles per hour to make sure that it maintains on the flight path correctly and is able to capture all the images in the correct location. For the bigger drones like the Phantom 4 or the Mavic 2 Pro, you can turn up the speed a little bit. Just know that if you turn it up too much, you might miss an image here or two. I am going to turn it to, let's say, 12 miles per hour. I find that like a happy median between efficiency and quality. The last 3 options are for the different settings on the camera. The first is your angle. It defaults to a nadir image, which is directly down facing at the earth. You can adjust that angle to, let's say, 70 degrees if you want a little bit more of that angulature for the 3D models. The bottom 2 options are for overlap settings of the images. So you'll see we default to 70%, which we think is a good mix between efficiency and quality. If there are better settings that you found for yourself and the mission that you're trying to accomplish, then you can certainly adjust those to meet your needs. Okay, the last thing here is down at the bottom. It's going to show you the remaining estimates for the flight, how long it's going to take. So this is approximately a 1-minute flight because it's super simple. It's going to cover 2.5 acres, approximately 15 images for this flight, and then it's going to take 1 battery. One note for the battery estimation, we are assuming that you have a full battery and that it's in good condition and things like that. So make sure that you keep that in mind if you're using that kind of as a guideline for yourself. Okay, so the last piece here is understanding how to modify your area of interest. So in the middle of the area of interest, you'll see a couple arrows. If you hold that and drag it, that's how you're going to move your area of interest. So I'm just going to move it a little bit to try to capture my park better. Up at the top, you're able to actually rotate the flight path inside of your area of interest also. I'm going to leave it here just so that I keep it up and down. However, just know that you can rotate it if you would like. If at any point you want to flip your start and end locations, you just tap on one of those locations and it'll flip them for you. In terms of the area of interest itself, in order to modify that and create a different shaped polygon, you're going to drag and drop any of these vertices, the blue icons. So I'm going to modify this left bottom one and the right bottom one, and I'm going to basically try to cover a little bit more of my neighborhood. Whoops, I dragged the whole map here. Okay, doing a little bit better. Okay, so you see I've created a little bit better of a rectangle for my entire neighborhood here. One thing to note too is if you want to change the shape of the polygon, any of these little white circles you can add vertices on in order to drag and create different shapes. So you'll see I did that on accident, but you'll see that that's doing what you want it to do here. But I'm just going to go ahead and delete that one by pressing and holding it. If I can press the correct location. And I'm going to press and hold that bottom one as well, and we're back to the rectangle. Okay, so that's an overview of how to use the application. In the next video, I will go through connecting your drone and actually flying the drone so that you're able to capture some images. Thanks for watching. Welcome everyone to video 2 of how to use Mapware Fly. Today we're going to go over connecting your drone and then flying your drone with Mapware Fly in order to capture images. So the first thing you're going to do is you'll notice right now we do not have a drone connected. So down at the bottom of the screen it says connect drone for pre-flight check. What you're going to want to go ahead and do is connect your drone controller to your tablet via a USB device. Your drone should come with a USB device to connect into tablets, and if not, you'll need to order one. Once you've done that, go ahead and turn on the drone and turn on the drone controller. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now. Please ignore any weird DJI beeps. And we'll notice the interface start to interact here in a second. Alright, so the first thing it's asking is choosing an app for the USB device. If you've saved this and clicked always before for one of the DJI apps, you're going to need to clear out this preference so that this option appears. Otherwise, we're not going to be able to communicate with the drone properly. But go ahead and tap on Mapware Fly and then click just once, just in case you want to go back to one of the DJI apps later on. That way it doesn't do the exact same thing and block you out from the DJI apps. Okay, and now we see a few different things, a change in the interface for us. The first thing you're going to notice is up at the top near flight parameters, you'll see we have a little icon that shows the drone is connected to plainly identify that the drone is connected and ready for flight. On the map itself, you'll notice a couple new orange icons. The first is an arrow representing the drone, where it's located and the direction it's pointing, as well as an H icon that represents the home location. You'll also notice that the background of my image here turned to a yellow color. So if I zoom out my map, and please excuse, my tablet slows down a lot when I'm recording video. But if we can try to zoom out, zoom out, zoom out. There we go. You'll notice these color boundaries are coming in from flight restricted zones in airspace around the airport. So this zone that I'm in here, I'm very familiar with it since it's in my house and my neighborhood, is only for above 400 feet, so I don't need to worry about it for flying a drone. If there is any restrictions for flight under 400 feet, the app will prompt you and warn you that you'll need specific clearance. And if it's in a red zone there or a blue zone, it's probably going to block you from flight via the app. So keep that in mind as you're flying. If you need more information about these zones, we pull them in directly from DJI. And you can go to their website in order to learn more about the zones and what they represent. Okay, so I'm going to zoom back to my location. And now we are ready to begin our flight. So what you're going to want to do is click on this Begin Pre-Flight Check button. And you'll notice we have a few different warnings here. The first is your drone connected? We just want to verify that we can even begin this process. and of course it is connected via the icon, and we can notice the images and things like that. So everything's good there. Is the battery greater than 30%? We have this checked so that you don't begin a flight with like a 20% battery and then immediately it comes home, just in case you forgot to replace the battery. So we want to give you a quick check there. It is important to note that you probably are going to need greater than 30% in the case of an actual mission. It will pass this test even if it's at 31%, so just keep that in mind. And it's more of a reminder for yourself to check the battery and make sure that it has enough life for the mission that you're trying to do. Is the SD card inserted? So the images that are taken during the flight, we need to save those somehow so that we can retrieve them later. So it's important to have the SD card in the drone. And are the waypoints loaded? So in order to transfer this automated flight that we've created in the app, we need to load the waypoints into the drone. And this check is just making sure that that process went successfully. The last two are important to note also. These won't appear every time. The first is insufficient image count for map processing. So what that means is in Mapware, in our modeling system, we require 20 images in order to do a proper model. So this is telling you, if you look down at the estimates on the parameters page, it's saying that you only have 15 images that are going to be taken during this mission. So it is important to note if you're going to be doing a model with Mapware that you'll need more than 20 images. And then the last piece here is it's saying controller signal strength is less than ideal. It's important to always have good signal strength with your drone because if you lose a connection between the drone controller and the drone, it is possible that you could lose the drone. It should maintain the flight. All the waypoints are loaded into the drone, so it should continue the path of the flight and then return home successfully. However, anytime you don't have connection with the drone, you're unable to make evasive maneuvers if there's anything that gets in the way and things like that. So if you need to improve your signal strength, make sure that you have a good line of sight on the drone. Usually it's because of buildings or terrain that's in the way between the controller and the drone, and that there's no power lines or telephone poles, something like that that could be blocking the signal. Okay, so these are okay to me. I'm just trying to do a quick example for you guys. So I'll go ahead and press take off in order to begin the flight. All right. You'll notice the drone is taking off from my driveway and is beginning the flight. You can dock and undock this flight parameters at any time. We leave that there so that you can remember the settings that you actually put into the flight so that you don't forget the altitude and things like that, and you can reference that. Up at the top you'll see we have a telemetry bar. The first piece there is going to be your altitude for the drone. The first is above ground level, so how many feet or meters above ground the drone is actually flying at, as well as mean sea level. So that's going to be your sea level altitude. And then of course you can take the difference between the two in order to understand the approximate mean sea level of your location on the ground. The next piece is going to be your speeds. So HS is going to be your horizontal speed. You'll see the drone is flying pretty rapidly through the system here. And then vertical speed is going to be any up and down movement for the drone. The third piece is going to be the distance from controller. So you can keep an eye on how far away the drone is from yourself. And the next piece is how much free space you have on the SD card. So it looks like we have plenty of space here. The next piece is going to be the signal strength. So it did give me a warning originally, but it looks like it's improved greatly and is in good condition now. And then the last is going to be your battery percentage on the drone. So as the drone is completing images, you'll hear that shutter sound representing an image being taken, as well as a black icon being placed on the map and the flight path during the flight. If at any time you'd like to pause or return the drone to home, you are able to select those options during the flight. as well as being able to switch between the video view and the map view. If you just tap on the picture in a picture, it will quickly swap over the feed. Okay, so that was a pretty short mission, so the drone is going ahead and returning home. I apologize for the controller beeping. And it is also important to note that if you resume or pause or return to home the drone, you are able to resume the mission where it left off. So if you have a battery that's getting low, you can return the drone home, replace the battery, and then resume that mission where you left off without any worries. And you're able to do that as many times as you need to complete the mission. Okay, we'll give it here just another couple seconds, and it's going to land right where it took off in my driveway. If at any time you have any issues landing because of obstacles or other reasons, you can take control with the controller to bring down the drone the last couple feet. Every once in a while, like my trash cans will be out or a car will pass and I have issues, and you can just bring it down manually. Alright, so the mission was successful. We get this page here that says how long the flight was, both in distance and time, and then how many images were captured. That's where we're going to end this video. Thanks so much for watching. Alright, this is part 3 of our video series on how to use Mapware Fly. Now we're going to go into the downloading the images off of the drone and then running those images through our Mapware photogrammetry engine. So once the mission is successful, you'll click on this Go to Mission Detail page, and it will automatically begin downloading the images off of the drone. A few things to note here. If at any point you would like to skip this process, you can pause the download process. All it is doing here is taking the images off of the SD card and wirelessly transferring them to your tablet. It is important to note that although it is wirelessly transmitting them, it's not removing them off of the SD card. So if at any point you want to upload those to your computer, those images still are on your SD card. And if you'd like to just forego this whole process, you can use the SD card to upload your images on your computer manually. And it's quickly going through these images and is almost complete here. We'll give this another few seconds. You'll see we do have a status bar colored blue at the top to tell you how complete it is, as well as the numbers of how many images are downloading. Once it's complete, you are able to interact with the images. So if I press on this first row here, you'll see that it does bring up one of the images that were captured, and you can zoom in to the full resolution of these images. We can look at these cars and see high quality imagery here from your drone. If you want to learn more information about these images, you can press the eye icon on the top. It will show you more information about the shutter speed, what altitude it was captured at, when it was taken, and even a little mini map of its approximate location. If you would like to delete any of these images, you can do so by pressing the ellipses and then pressing the delete icon. But what I'm going to go ahead and do is upload them to my Mapware account. So what I'm doing now is taking the images off of my tablet and uploading them wirelessly to the Mapware cloud. Again, this is completely optional. One thing to note here is it does take a few minutes, so feel free to go grab a cup of coffee, eat some lunch when you kick off this process, depending on how many images you have to load. And also, if you want to upload them via your SD card, you're completely willing to do that, able to do that. You can see as the upload begins, the file names get changed to this -upload, as well as an icon on the right-hand side that shows a little up arrow showing that these images have been uploaded. You also notice the megapixels and the size becomes less than 1 megapixel, 1 megabyte. That's because what we do is we cache a very low resolution version of the image on the tablet. We don't want to leave the full resolution because if you're taking hundreds of images, you're going to end up using all the space on your tablet. But we did want to maintain some sort of historical archival record so you're able to see what images were captured in a mission, as well as being able to have a rough idea of what each image represents. So I'm still able to use the thumbnail here and see approximately where that image was taken. So if there's a specific image I'm looking for, I can quickly reference that. Now we'll give this just a couple more minutes to finish up. Again, you have the blue progress bar at the top, and you can see how many images have uploaded, currently 6 out of 15. If at any point you'd like to pause this upload, you can do that. And again, just a reminder, this is using the internet, so make sure that you have a good connection with Wi-Fi. If you have a data plan, make sure that you have ample data available for this. As well as just a simple note that you are able to disconnect your drone at this time, so you can turn off the controller and turn off the drone, but please do not do so during the download process. Okay, we'll give this a couple more minutes here, and I might speed this up depending on who my editor is. Okay, the upload is complete, and you'll see now we have a new button available to us in the top right hand corner that's Process Model in Mapware. Again, this is completely optional, but if you would like to run a 2D and 3D model on your images that were taken, go ahead and press that icon. And this is going to bring you to the Mapware SaaS application. So if you have an account already, which you do because you use Mapware Fly, you're able to use those same credentials here. And you'll see that it pulls in all the exact same projects that it showed in the mobile application. So Demo August was the project that we just took those images in. You'll see when you first enter that it's completely blank. That's okay because we haven't run any models yet. But if you go to the Images tab, you'll see that we have a couple different runs here. One is from one I did previously, and then the top one is from the run that we just did, and all of the images that were captured. In order to run a model, what you're going to do is go back to that Models tab, press on Process a New Model, press the Next button, and then here you're going to select the image batch in which you want to use the images from. So in this case, remember that you need 20 images in order to process a model. Because of that minimum, I'm going to use both of these batches. But remember that we just ran the one single mission, this demo 2 right here. So if you only wanted the images from one of your missions, make sure to unselect that other batch. But I'm going to go ahead and press next here anyways. If you had ground control points, now would be the time to upload that text document with the relevant information and then assign those locations to the ground control points in the images. Since I did not do so in my current run, I'm going to press skip. And here's where you're able to see a summary of the model and then see the credits that would be required to process. If you are a new member to Mapware, you have a 14-day free trial and you'll be able to process these images with no worries of concerns of credits. If you do need credits, make sure that you have a credit card assigned to your account so that you're able to purchase the necessary credits if you are on our pay-to-go plan. But if you would like to also do a subscription in which you have plenty of credits in order to process images and models in Mapware, then sign up for one of our subscription plans and then come back and you'll be able to process the model. The last piece here would be to just begin processing your model. And if you'd like to see an example of what the model looks like when it's complete, I'm going to open this up. And you'll see an example of what a model looks like in Mapware. This is our map where you're able to interact with the model. We do have 3D and 2D views. Inside of the 3D view, you do have the point clouds as well as the mesh, depending on what level of information you're looking for. You also can adapt the quality by changing between low and ultra. We do also have a details toggle. If you turn that on, you're able to show the image positions and the flight path. So you'll see up at the top, you're able to see how the drone flew in order to capture this model. And then I'm going to toggle to the 2D map real quick. And here you can see the ortho photo that's put together and stitching those drone images together. We also do have background layers, so this is using the satellite imagery. You can swap to the street view and change the opacity depending on what you're looking at. And we also do have the digital surface model. Alright, thanks for watching. If you have any questions about Mapware Fly, please send us an email at support@mapware.com. You can also go to our knowledge base. There is a link in the application. If I go back to the application, you'll see in the bottom left-hand corner, we have a link both to the support email as well as the knowledge base. In the knowledge base, we have a quick start guide where you're able to see all the information about how to use the app and the pieces that I just walked through in these 3 videos, as well as a troubleshooting guide if you have any issues, and a compatibility guide to understand which drones and which tablets are compatible with Mapware Fly. Thanks everyone for watching. Have a great day.